Hey Taurus, I need to talk to you about something that's been showing up in the cards, and honestly, it's one of those readings that makes you sit back and really think about your entire life journey. You know those moments when you're just scrolling through your day, maybe drinking your coffee, and suddenly something hits you that makes you realize your whole story has been so much bigger than you thought. That's exactly what came through today. So I was sitting with your energy, Taurus, and I kept feeling this pull to look at something beyond just what's happening right now in your life. The cards wanted to go deeper, way deeper, to talk about something that's been with you since literally before you took your first breath. And I know that might sound really out there, but stay with me because what came through is absolutely fascinating. The universe kept showing me this theme of spiritual inheritance, which is such a specific thing. Like we talk about inheriting money or property or even family traits, but spiritual inheritance is this whole other level. And what's wild is that the cards are saying you came into this world already carrying something incredibly precious, something that was meant to be yours, something that was placed in your soul before you even got here. But here's where it gets really interesting and honestly a bit unsettling. The reading isn't just about this beautiful gift you received, it's also about the fact that there have been forces, people, energies, whatever you want to call them, who have been trying to take it from you. And I don't mean that in some abstract cosmic way. I mean actual, tangible interference in your life that's been attempting to disconnect you from this spiritual inheritance. I pulled the cards, and Taurus, the story they told is something else. It's about recognition, about reclaiming, and about finally understanding why certain things in your life have felt the way they've felt. So let's get into this, because you absolutely need to hear what's been happening behind the scenes of your existence. The first card that came out, and it practically flew out of the deck, was the Tower. Now I know what you're thinking. The Tower always sounds scary, and people get nervous when they see it. But in this context, it's showing me something really specific. This card is revealing that there was a massive disruption in your spiritual lineage, something that happened that was meant to disconnect you from your divine inheritance. What I'm seeing with the Tower is that someone, or maybe multiple people close to you, made a choice that created chaos in your spiritual foundation. This could have been parents, grandparents, maybe even further back in your ancestry. But there was a moment where the spiritual path that should have been clear for you got scrambled. Think of it like this. Imagine you were supposed to inherit a treasure map, but someone tore it up into pieces and scattered it, hoping you'd never be able to put it back together. The Tower is showing me broken foundations, but not because you broke them. Someone else caused this destruction, possibly thinking they were protecting themselves, or maybe out of jealousy, fear, or even just ignorance about what they were doing. And the thing about the Tower energy is that it doesn't just affect one moment, it creates ripples. So whatever happened, it set in motion a pattern where you've had to constantly rebuild, constantly start over, constantly fight for stability that should have just been yours naturally. What's really standing out to me is that this wasn't an accident. The cards are very clear that this was intentional interference. Someone saw the light you were meant to carry, the gifts you were meant to have, and they made moves to dim that light. Maybe they didn't want you to outshine them. Maybe they were threatened by your potential. Or maybe they were so disconnected from their own spiritual inheritance that they couldn't stand to see you connected to yours. And here's what breaks my heart a little bit, Taurus. The Tower is showing me that you've probably spent so much of your life feeling like something was missing. Like there was a piece of you that you couldn't quite access, like you were supposed to know something or be something, but you couldn't figure out what. That's not because you're lacking anything. It's because the access to your spiritual inheritance was deliberately obscured. But here's the thing about Tower moments. Yes, they represent destruction, but they also represent revelation. Everything that's been hidden comes crashing down into visibility. So, while someone tried to destroy your connection to this inheritance, what they actually did was set in motion the eventual moment where you would see exactly what happened, where you would understand the game that was being played, and where you would have the opportunity to reclaim what's yours. I'm seeing that you're at that moment right now, Taurus. The tower has done its work. The structures that were keeping you blind have fallen, and now you're standing in the rubble, but you can see. You can see what was taken, you can see who took it, and most importantly, you can see the path to getting it back. The next card that came through is the Empress, and oh my goodness, this is where things start to make so much sense. The Empress represents divine feminine energy, abundance, creativity, and most importantly for this reading, she represents the source of your spiritual inheritance. This is the energy that blessed you before you were born. What I'm getting is that you were chosen, Taurus. Before you came into this physical world, before you took form, there was a spiritual agreement, a blessing, a marking of your soul that said you were going to carry something sacred. The Empress energy is maternal, nurturing, and abundant, and she's showing me that you were literally wrapped in protection and gifts while you were still in the womb. This is so specific, but I keep seeing the image of a baby being held by the universe itself and gifts being placed into the baby's spirit. These aren't material gifts, although material abundance might have been part of it. These are gifts like intuition, healing ability, manifestation power, the ability to see through illusions, natural wisdom that most people have to work their whole lives to acquire. You were born with these things already activated in your soul. The Empress is telling me that this blessing came through the feminine line, whether it was your mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, or even further back. There was a woman in your lineage who was incredibly spiritually powerful, and she made sure that her power would pass down to you. She might have known you were coming, or she might have just made a general blessing for all her descendants, but either way, you are the recipient of her spiritual legacy. And what's beautiful about the Empress is that this energy can never truly be destroyed. Someone can try to block it, hide it, suppress it, but the source remains pure and intact. So even though the tower showed us that someone tried to disconnect you from this inheritance, the Empress is confirming that the inheritance itself is still yours, still waiting for you, still alive and potent, and ready to flow into your life the moment you claim it. I'm also getting that the Empress wants you to know that you've always felt her presence, even when you didn't understand what it was. Those moments when you just knew something without knowing how you knew it, that was her. Those times when you felt protected, even in the middle of chaos, that was her. Those instances when you created beauty or abundance seemingly out of nowhere, that was her working through you, even with all the blocks that were in place. What's really profound is that the Empress is showing me that your spiritual inheritance isn't just about personal gifts. It's about being a channel for abundance and blessing into the world. You were meant to be someone who helps others, who heals, who creates, who nurtures. And every time someone tried to steal this from you or block you from it, they weren't just hurting you, they were blocking a flow of good that was meant to reach so many people through you. Now the Ten of Swords comes in, and this card is always intense because it represents betrayal, endings, and that feeling of being completely defeated. But in this reading, it's showing me something really specific about what you've been through. The Ten of Swords is revealing the extent of the attack on your spiritual inheritance. This card is telling me that there were multiple attempts to destroy your connection to your gifts. It wasn't just one person or one moment, it was repeated, calculated, and thorough. The Ten of Swords shows me someone face down with 10 swords in their back, which is such a powerful image of betrayal and overkill. And that's exactly what happened to you spiritually. I'm seeing that the people who tried to steal your inheritance didn't just want to take it. They wanted to make sure you could never access it, that you would never even know it existed, that you would spend your whole life feeling powerless and disconnected. And they used multiple methods to try to accomplish this. Maybe it was through psychological manipulation, making you doubt your own intuition and abilities. Maybe it was through spiritual warfare, sending negative energy your way, or even using practices to block your spiritual sight. Maybe it was through creating chaos and trauma in your life so you'd be too busy surviving to ever explore your spiritual gifts. What's coming through really strongly is that this betrayal likely came from people who were supposed to protect you. The Ten of Swords often shows up when the betrayal is from someone close, someone trusted, someone who had access to your vulnerable spaces. And in the context of spiritual inheritance, this makes sense because the people who would have the knowledge of what you were meant to inherit would be family members or close family friends, people who were around you from the beginning. The Ten of Swords is also showing me that at some point you hit rock bottom. There was a moment, maybe multiple moments, where you felt absolutely defeated, where you felt like giving up, where you wondered if you were cursed or doomed or just fundamentally broken. And the cards want you to know that this wasn't your darkness. This was the cumulative weight of all the attacks on your spirit, all the theft of your energy, all the blockages that had been placed on your path. But here's what's so important about the Ten of Swords, Taurus. It's the last sword. It represents the end of a cycle of suffering. After the Ten of Swords, there's nowhere to go, but up the night is darkest, before the dawn. And this card is saying that you've already been through the worst of it. The betrayal has been revealed, the attacks have been exposed, and now the healing can begin. The card is also showing me that you're starting to pull these swords out, one by one. You're starting to understand what happened to you. You're starting to recognize the patterns. You're starting to name the people and situations that contributed to your spiritual disconnection. And every time you pull out a sword, every time you acknowledge a truth about what was done to you, you're reclaiming a piece of your power. Next up is the Page of Wands, and this is where the energy starts to shift from painful revelation to hopeful new beginning. The Page of Wands is all about fresh starts, new enthusiasm, messages, and the beginning of a creative or spiritual journey. And in this reading, this card is telling me that you're receiving information right now that's going to help you reclaim your inheritance. The Page of Wands is a messenger, and he's bringing you clues, insights, memories, or actual messages from people that are helping you piece together the puzzle of your spiritual lineage. You might be having dreams that show you things about your family's past. You might be remembering things from childhood that suddenly make sense in a new way. Or you might be meeting people who have information about your family's spiritual practices or gifts. What's really beautiful about this card is the energy of innocent excitement and curiosity. Even after everything you've been through, even after all the betrayal and theft that the previous cards revealed, the Page of Wands shows that your spirit hasn't been crushed. You still have that spark of interest in your own story, that desire to understand who you are and what you're capable of, that willingness to explore and learn and grow. I'm seeing that this page energy is also about you starting to experiment with your spiritual gifts in a very gentle, playful way. Maybe you're pulling cards for yourself. Maybe you're paying attention to your intuitive hits. Maybe you're trying out meditation or energy work. And the Page of Wands is saying that even though you're just at the beginning of reclaiming your full inheritance, these baby steps are incredibly important. Every little practice, every small moment of connection with your spiritual self is rebuilding the pathway that was damaged by the Tower moment. The Page of Wands is also showing me that you're about to enter a period of rapid spiritual learning and growth. Pages are students, they're enthusiastic learners, and this card is saying that once you really commit to understanding and reclaiming your inheritance, things are going to move fast. You're going to discover abilities you didn't know you had. You're going to make connections between things that never made sense before. You're going to meet teachers and guides who show up right when you need them. There's also a message here about sharing your journey. The Page of Wands wants to communicate, to tell others about what he's learned and discovered. And I'm getting that part of your spiritual inheritance is about being a voice for others who have also been disconnected from their spiritual roots. Your story of reclamation isn't just for you. It's going to inspire and help so many other people who have been through similar experiences. Now we get to Wheel of Fortune. And this is such a powerful card in this reading because it represents cycles, karma, destiny, and divine timing. The wheel is telling me that everything that's been happening is part of a much larger pattern. And right now, the wheel is turning in your favor. What I'm seeing is that there was a karmic cycle that had to play out. The people who tried to steal your spiritual inheritance, who tried to block you from your gifts, who betrayed you and attacked you, they were actually setting in motion their own karmic consequences. The Wheel of Fortune is very clear about this. What goes around comes around, and the wheel always turns. For a while, it probably felt like the people who hurt you were winning, like they got away with it, like they took something from you and faced no consequences. But the Wheel of Fortune is showing me that the cycle is completing now, and everything is being balanced. The people who tried to steal from you are going to find that what they took doesn't work for them, that it brings them no real power or peace, and that they're actually going to face the consequences of their actions. Meanwhile, you are entering a very fortunate period where the universe is going to start compensating you for everything that was taken. The Wheel of Fortune is generous when it turns in your favor, and I'm seeing blessings, opportunities, and synchronicities coming into your life at an accelerated pace. It's like the universe is saying, okay, you've been through the hard part, you've learned the lessons, you've survived the betrayal, now let's give you what you were always meant to have. What's really important about the Wheel of Fortune is that it operates on divine timing, not human timing. So while you might feel impatient to reclaim everything immediately, this card is asking you to trust the process. The wheel turns at its own pace, and everything that needs to happen for you to fully step into your inheritance is happening right now, behind the scenes, in ways you might not even be able to see. Yet I'm also getting that the Wheel of Fortune is connected to your life purpose and destiny. Your spiritual inheritance isn't random. It's part of your soul's mission in this lifetime. You were given these gifts because you're meant to use them for something important. And even though there were attempts to derail you from your path, the wheel is bringing you back into alignment with your true purpose. The wheel is also showing me that you have spiritual allies, ancestors, guides, angels, whoever you believe in, who have been working on your behalf this entire time. Even when you felt alone, even when it seemed like no one was protecting you, there were forces moving behind the scenes to ensure that you would eventually get what's yours. The wheel never stops turning, and it always brings justice eventually. The Three of Pentacles appears next, and this card is about mastery, collaboration, and building something of value. In this context, it's showing me that you're going to be working with others to fully reclaim and develop your spiritual inheritance. This isn't a solo journey, even though parts of it have felt very lonely. The Three of Pentacles is telling me that you're going to find your spiritual community, your teachers, your collaborators, the people who recognize your gifts and want to help you develop them. These aren't going to be people who are threatened by your power or who want to steal from you. These are genuine allies who understand what you've been through and who have the skills and knowledge to help you build on your inheritance. What's coming through strongly is that this card represents the practical application of your spiritual gifts. It's one thing to have abilities, it's another thing to know how to use them effectively in the world. And the Three of Pentacles is saying that you're entering a period where you're going to be learning the craft, so to speak. You're going to be studying, practicing, honing your skills, and figuring out how to turn your spiritual inheritance into something tangible and useful. I'm seeing that this might involve actual classes or mentorship, or it might be more informal learning through experience and experimentation, but the key is that you're not just going to have these gifts sitting dormant anymore. You're going to actively develop them, and you're going to get really good at what you do. The Three of Pentacles is also about recognition. This card shows someone's work being admired and appreciated, and I'm getting that. As you step more fully into your spiritual inheritance, people are going to notice you're going to start being known for your abilities, whether that's in your immediate circle or in a wider community. And this recognition isn't about ego. It's about finally being seen for who you truly are, for what you're capable of, for the gifts you carry. There's also a message here about building a legacy. The Three of Pentacles is a card of creating something that lasts, something of quality and value. And your spiritual inheritance isn't just for you, it's for future generations. Just like someone passed these gifts down to you, you're going to pass them forward, either to your own children or to spiritual students or to anyone who needs what you have to offer. The King of Wands shows up now, and this is such a powerful masculine energy card representing leadership, vision, charisma, and taking bold action. In this reading, the King of Wands is showing me the fully realized version of you once you've completely reclaimed your spiritual inheritance. This king doesn't doubt himself. He doesn't hide his light. He doesn't apologize for his power. And that's where you're headed, Taurus. The King of Wands is showing me that you're going to step into a level of confidence and authority with your spiritual gifts that you probably can't even imagine right now. Now, you're going to know who you are, what you're capable of, and what you're meant to do, and you're going to move forward with absolute certainty. What I love about the King of Wands in this position is that he represents someone who has been through the fire and come out stronger. This isn't naive optimism or untested confidence. This is earned authority. You've been through the betrayal. You've survived the attempts to destroy your connection to your gifts. You've done the work of reclaiming what's yours, and now you're going to stand in your power in a way that's unshakable. The King of Wands is also very action-oriented. He doesn't just sit around thinking about what he's going to do. He makes moves. And this card is telling me that once you fully step into your spiritual inheritance, you're going to be active with it. You're going to use your gifts boldly. You're going to take risks. You're going to put yourself out there in ways that might have scared you before. I'm seeing that this king energy is also about inspiring others. The King of Wands is magnetic. People are drawn to his energy and enthusiasm. And as you embody this energy more fully, you're going to naturally attract people who need what you have to offer. You're going to be a leader in your spiritual community, someone who helps others find their own path and reclaim their own inheritances. There's also a message here about entrepreneurship or creating your own path. The King of Wands doesn't work for others, he creates his own kingdom. And I'm getting that your spiritual inheritance is going to lead you to create something uniquely yours, whether that's a business, a practice, a way of teaching or healing, something that only you could create because it's based on your specific gifts and experiences. Judgment comes through next, and this is one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck when it comes to spiritual awakening and rebirth. Judgment represents the moment of reckoning, the calling forth of your true self, the resurrection of everything that was dead or buried. And in this reading, it's showing me that you're experiencing or about to experience a massive spiritual awakening. Judgment is literally about being called by divine forces to rise up and claim your purpose. This isn't a gentle suggestion. It's a trumpet blast from the universe saying, it's time, no more delays, no more excuses, no more hiding. The moment has arrived for you to fully step into your spiritual inheritance and become who you were always meant to be. What's really powerful about judgment in this context is that it represents the final clearing away of all the illusions, all the blocks, all the theft and betrayal that's been revealed in the earlier cards. Judgment is the moment where you see the absolute truth of your situation, the full picture of what happened to you and why, and simultaneously, the full picture of what's possible for you now. I'm seeing that judgment is bringing you a kind of clarity that you've never had before. Everything is coming into focus. You understand your family patterns. You understand why certain people acted the way they did. You understand what your spiritual inheritance actually consists of, and you understand what you're meant to do with it. This level of understanding is liberating because you can't move forward powerfully without first understanding where you've been. Judgment is also about forgiveness and release, but not in a way that excuses what was done to you. It's about releasing the energetic weight of the past so it doesn't hold you back anymore. You're being called to rise above the drama of who did what to whom and step into a higher perspective where you can see that everything, even the betrayal and theft, was part of your soul's journey and has made you who you are. The card is showing me that this awakening is going to feel like being born again. You're going to have a completely different sense of yourself, your capabilities, and your place in the world. Things that used to feel confusing or painful are going to suddenly make perfect sense, and you're going to feel a sense of alignment and purpose that you've been searching for your entire life. The Hermit appears, and this is such an interesting card to show up in this reading because the Hermit is about solitude, inner wisdom, and spiritual seeking. In this context, it's showing me that part of reclaiming your spiritual inheritance requires you to spend time alone, going deep within yourself. The hermit isn't running away from the world, he's retreating temporarily to find his inner light and wisdom, and you need to do the same, Taurus. After all the revelations about what was taken from you and who tried to block you from your gifts, you need time to process, to heal, to connect with your own inner knowing without outside interference. What I'm getting is that the hermit is showing you that the answers you're looking for aren't going to come from external sources alone. Yes, you'll have teachers and guides and community, but the deepest truth of your spiritual inheritance lives inside you. You have to go inward to access it fully. You have to spend time in silence and stillness, listening to your own soul, connecting with your ancestors, feeling into the energy that was given to you before you were born. The hermit is also about becoming your own authority. After being betrayed and having people try to steal from you, it's crucial that you develop an unshakable connection to your own inner wisdom so that you can always discern truth from lies, real guidance from manipulation. The hermit carries his own light. He doesn't need anyone else to tell him which way to go, and that's the level of spiritual independence you're being called to develop. I'm seeing that this period of withdrawal and inner work is temporary, but necessary. You're not meant to be a hermit forever, but right now, you need this time to consolidate everything you've learned, to integrate all the pieces of your inheritance that are coming back to you, to strengthen your connection to Source before you go back out into the world with your gifts fully activated. The hermit is also showing me that you might be called to do some deep healing work during this time. When spiritual inheritance is stolen or blocked, it creates wounds in the soul that need attention. You might need to work with a healer, do therapy, practice intensive meditation, or energy work. Whatever it takes to clear out the old pain and make room for the new energy that's trying to come through. Finally, the hermit is a card of mastery. The hermit on the card is usually depicted as an old, wise figure, someone who has walked a long path and gained deep knowledge. And that's what you're becoming, Taurus. Through everything you've experienced, all the challenges and betrayals and reclamation work, you're developing a level of spiritual wisdom and mastery that very few people achieve. You're becoming someone who truly knows, not just believes or hopes, but knows their spiritual truth. The last card is Eight of Swords. And at first, this might seem like a challenging card to end on, but in this context, it's actually showing you something really important about where you are right now. The Eight of Swords depicts someone who is blindfolded and surrounded by swords, appearing to be trapped. But if you look closely at the traditional imagery, the swords don't actually form a complete cage, and the person could walk away if they just took off the blindfold. What this card is revealing is that even though so much has been shown to you in this reading about your spiritual inheritance and what was done to block you from it, there might still be ways you're keeping yourself trapped through limiting beliefs or fear. The Eight of Swords is asking you to examine where you're still blindfolding yourself, where you're still believing that you're powerless or trapped, when actually the way forward is right there. I'm getting that this card is about mental and perceptual freedom. You have all the information you need now about your spiritual inheritance. You understand what happened. You've been given the roadmap to reclamation, but you still have to make the choice to remove the blindfold and walk forward. The cards can show you everything, but you're the one who has to act on what's been revealed. The Eight of Swords is also highlighting that some of the imprisonment you've experienced has been self-imposed. Not because you're weak or wrong, but because when you're attacked spiritually the way you have been, you internalize messages about limitation and powerlessness. You might still be carrying beliefs like, I'm not powerful enough, I don't deserve this inheritance, I'll never be free of what was done to me, or it's too late for me to reclaim my gifts. And the Eight of Swords is gently but firmly saying that these beliefs are the final chains you need to break. What's really important here is that this card is showing you that you have more freedom and power than you realize. Yes, real things were done to you. Yes, your spiritual inheritance was genuinely blocked and attacked. But you are not ultimately a victim of those circumstances. You have the ability to choose differently now, to claim what's yours, to walk forward into your power. The swords around you are intimidating, but they don't actually have the power to hold you unless you believe they do. The Eight of Swords is also about asking for help when you need it. The figure in the card can't see the way out, but someone on the outside could easily guide them. And that's true for you too, Taurus. If you're feeling stuck or confused or scared about how to move forward with reclaiming your inheritance, reach out. Talk to spiritual mentors, therapists, trusted friends, your guides, and ancestors. You don't have to figure this all out alone. So here's what I'm seeing as the complete picture, Taurus. You came into this world carrying something incredibly precious, a spiritual inheritance that was blessed into you before your birth. This inheritance includes gifts, abilities, wisdom, and a connection to divine source that most people spend lifetimes trying to develop. But you were born with it already activated. However, people close to you, likely family members or those with intimate access to your early life, recognized what you carried, and they were threatened by it or wanted it for themselves or didn't want you to outshine them. They made deliberate choices to try to disconnect you from your inheritance. They created chaos and trauma. They blocked your spiritual development. They made you doubt yourself and your abilities. They betrayed you in ways that cut deep. For years, maybe your whole life so far, you've been walking around feeling like something essential was missing, like you were meant for more but couldn't access it, like you were disconnected from something important but didn't know what. And now you know why. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't because you were broken or cursed or insufficient. It was because someone actively worked to steal what was yours. But here's the beautiful part. Despite everything that was done to you, your spiritual inheritance remains intact. It was never actually destroyed, just hidden and blocked. And right now, at this exact moment in your life, the universe is orchestrating your reconnection to everything you were meant to have. The wheel is turning in your favor. Divine timing is clicking into place. And you're receiving the information, opportunities, and support you need to fully reclaim your gifts. The journey ahead involves some inner work. You need to spend time going deep within yourself, connecting to your own wisdom, healing the wounds that were created by the theft and betrayal, and building your confidence in your abilities. You need to release old limiting beliefs and recognize where you might still be trapping yourself through fear or doubt. And you need to find your spiritual community, the people who will help you develop and apply your gifts in the world. But once you do this work, once you fully step into your spiritual inheritance, you're going to be absolutely unstoppable. You're going to embody a level of spiritual power and authority that commands respect. You're going to use your gifts boldly and generously. You're going to inspire others and help them reclaim their own inheritances. You're going to build a legacy that honors the ancestor who blessed you and that continues forward for generations to come. The people who tried to steal from you are going to face their karmic consequences, not because you're seeking revenge, but because that's just how the universe works. What they took won't serve them, and they'll realize too late that you can't steal spiritual gifts. You can only delay someone's access to them, and they'll have to watch as you rise into everything they tried to prevent you from becoming. This is your time, Taurus. Everything you've been through has prepared you for this moment of reclamation. Trust what's being shown to you. Trust your own inner knowing. And most of all, trust that what was given to you before you were born can never truly be taken away. It's been waiting for you all along, and now you're finally ready to claim it. I hope this reading resonated with you and gave you some clarity about what's been happening in your spiritual journey. If you felt the truth in these cards, if something clicked into place while you were listening, that's your soul recognizing what it's always known. You're not crazy, you're not making it up, you're finally seeing clearly. Take care of yourself, do the inner work, and get ready to step into the fullness of who you were always meant to be.